Sacrifice. It involves giving up something that is valuable, something that is esteemed, just for a greater goal or to the benefits of other people. Actually, when you talk about sacrifice, you actually put a person in a fix, an individual in a fix where they have to make decisions, difficult decisions at that, between option A, option B, between today and the future. So when we talk about sacrifice, we're simply saying it is the ability to deprive yourself of current pleasures. I shared that last week, for a greater good. And now you need to understand that there are certain elements of sacrifice or sacrifices. And one of them includes your time. One of the major things that a person can sacrifice is your time. It is often said that time is life. I remember a movie I saw a couple of years ago, how that everything that people negotiate with is with their time. Not so many people had a century. Not so many people had 10 years. Not so many people had 70. So some people were time grabbers. They stole time. Now sacrificing your time today, burning the midnight candles, investing hours, days, weeks in a project, in a career, might not be appreciated today, but the end product, it is always appreciated. You know, someone has contemplated, should I take a degree? Should I take this? Should I do that? And one of the major things I said to this person is, you see, at this stage, let's assume you're 27. This degree is going to take you 2 years. Whether you do the degree or you do not, in 2 years' time, you'll be 28. So you want to determine how you arrive at 28, with the assumption that the person is 26. You want to arrive with a degree, or you want to arrive yet procrastinating because you're not willing to make sacrifices. When it costs you time, it's going to cost you comfort. And when we say comfort here, we're talking about either physical or emotional comfort. Sometimes it might mean that you have to, endure driving that car. It might mean that you have to endure living in that house pending the period you are fine to get something way better. It is not always easy. Most of us want to eat our cakes and have it, but it is not always easy. It reminds me of a story of a woman, a young woman in Pakistan a couple of years ago. Her name was called Malala. Malala Yousafzai. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing well. Malala was a young girl, and at different instances she was threatened, got to the point where she was shot at by the Taliban. They wanted to eliminate her life. Why exactly was Malala placed in this position? She simply wanted to see every young girl educated in Pakistan. She advocated for every girl's education. Now, understand, Pakistan has some measure of religious empowerment or religious enforcement, and with that religious enforcement there's a bias. The bias here is that of the fact that the ladies or the women do not deserve to be educated. Their places in the kitchen, their places in the place of marriage. So There were deprivations of ladies, young girls, women from being educated. Malala stood as a young girl and faced these threats, even in Pakistan, against whatever was, the status quo. Sacrifice can mean that you're challenging the status quo, even when there's no personal gain for you. That's what sacrifice can mean. Sacrifice can mean that. So she survived attacks, and even in the attacks she survived. She continued with advocacy. To the point that she became a global symbol for girls' education. And guess what? She became the youngest ever Nobel Prize laureate. And that's because her work, even in Pakistan and abroad, got noticed to the point that it increased the awareness and efforts to improve the education of girls and the education for girls worldwide. And so it takes the sacrifice and devotion of one person. And one of the pointers to the fact that a person is willing to sacrifice is tied to the extent they are willing to go, even when there is no, in quotes, reward for them. When I say reward here, I'm talking about personal reward. A reward might exist as a greater reward in future, but personal reward might not be there. She was fighting for ladies who might now not remember that she existed. People who now become Gen Z, people who become Gen Z people who now enjoy certain privileges without knowing that the comfort they enjoy today was fought for. The comfort was fought for from a place of inconvenience. That the things that have now become normal, natural, are things that weren't natural, weren't normal for them. And so it takes sacrifice for those things to happen. Let's take a pause for a few seconds and reminiscence on these words. What exactly are we sacrificing in our today that we believe that we would enjoy in our tomorrow, even if we're not there to enjoy it? What are the things that you're doing from a standpoint of sacrifice that the next generation, 2 generations, 10 generations from now can research, Google, find out in history books, and to be pointed at you that you started it? Yeah, it might not be large scale where it is a global phenomenon, just like Malala's case. It might just be you and your family. It might just be that you're creating a pathway for the next 4 generations, 5 generations to thrive, such that the things that were a struggle for you are no longer struggles for them. Why? Because you cleared the path. Is it going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy. Is it going to be worth it? Yes, 100% over. And so, retrospect on that, reminiscence on that. What are the things that I'm sacrificing? Or what are the things that I'm withholding, or I'm withholding myself from letting go, that is going to be a greater damage? Hear me and hear me well. Where we are today is a function of the sacrifices we made yesterday, or the sacrifices we refused to make. I'm saying it again to say, the quality of life that we live today, or the quality of rest that we have come into today, is an offshoot of the quality of labors of yesterday. I remember this part of the Nigerian national anthem. Is it, O God of creation, direct our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know, that labors of our heroes past, the travails of our heroes past. It is possible to forget, but the Nigeria that we celebrate as an independent nation was fought for. It took sacrifice. And this you know, the extreme part of sacrifice. Sacrifice can be very costly. And the cost of sacrifice can include lives. I remember the story of a young woman in scripture in the Bible who was wife to the king. And at the time she appeared before the king, she had no business appearing before the king. But she had gone on a fast, told people to pray for her and said to them that if she perishes, she perishes. And they went about praying for her. It took a sacrifice for her to say, if this is going to mean that I'm not going to survive, so be it. Many people are not willing to damn the consequences of actions, knowing fully well it's going to yield a greater good. And it's our ability to cross the line where we do not care about limitations. We do not care about what exactly the devil, in the case where it's the devil, or the government, in the case where it is the government, or the status quo, in the case where it's the environment, proceeds against us. It's like defying the odds and thriving, defying the odds and pressing on to ensure that all that you want to see created is created. Interesting thing about sacrifice sometimes is that we are not the beneficiaries. Actually, I shared this last week, how the average parent goes about, especially in the Western world, runs about five jobs, 6 jobs, 7 jobs, just to ensure that the children at home have their needs met. It takes sacrifice for needs to be met. It takes sacrifice for bills to be paid. Someone has to do the work. Someone has to do the extra work. And it's important that we understand that. What are we sharing on? I remember also another story of a woman, a scientist, Marie Curie. You could have read about her. You could research more about her. Marie Curie. She was dedicated, to scientific research. And the conditions under which she gave herself to this research were very challenging conditions. And so she was facing health risks, based on the radioactive materials that she was exposed to at her workplace. But she pressed on. And, her discoveries, especially in radioactivity, earned her 2 Nobel Prizes and also helped pave way for medicine and science, especially as touching cancer treatment. Now, someone has to do this. It has to take research. Sometimes their families suffer for having them do these things. And that suffering, in quote, is sacrifice. It might not make sense to the current people that you're doing life with, except those who understand the pains of sacrifice. Not many people are willing to toil the path of sacrifice. But I'm just calling your attention to it, and I'm challenging you today to step out. Do that from a point of sacrifice. Do it for a greater tomorrow. Do it. Someone is counting on you to step out in sacrifice, to step out from your comfort zone, to hold on to those opportunities, certain opportunities you can even let go of because of sacrifice, because of a greater good. For instance, a woman who will let go of an opportunity, just to travel and be with her family, just to be with her children. She lets go of those advancements just for her to see her children become the best that they would ever be. Their children at the time might not understand it. They might even grow up saying that we don't have enough food. And mom might be feeling that, if I'd picked this job, I would have had enough to provide for them. It's just that I will not be available for them. So she chose being available against being unavailable and providing funds for them. That is also sacrifice. Some of our parents went through this. Some of our leaders, not so many African leaders, truly sacrifice. They'll tell you that they are servant leaders and they are called to serve and they're willing to serve at any time, only for us to discover that they are milking the nation wherever their territory is. And this is very dominant in the African nations. And what am I saying today? Whether you're in politics, whether you're in religion, whether you are any sect, or just your life, wherever you are, I'm simply saying to you that sacrifice ensures that a greater good is met, that people come to a benefit of the labors of your today. Step out, sacrifice it. No one might applaud you, but the generation will be grateful that you did this. Again, this is PV Musings, and we're sharing on sacrifice. I want to encourage you to send in your feedbacks, at PV Musings. Send in your feedbacks at pvmusings@gmail.com. I look forward to reading from you. It's a blessed day for you. Amen.